morning, everyone, and welcome to day two of Pride School Festival Return to Hokori High Turbo Edition, put on by the fantastic New York City. Welcome. I'm Dr. Sarah Hayes. I use she, her pronouns, and I'll be moderating our panel today. I'm a clinical contributor for Take This, the mentorship lead for Queer Women of Esports, and a licensed therapist for the Seattle, Washington area virtually. I specialize in geek content, and I'm so excited here today to talk to you all about gaming and time and how gaming pandemic and all of the difficulties. Everybody could introduce themselves. We'll just go around. Why don't we?
Art.
Okay.
Um, Up. I am a variety. I am super. Definitely look.
My name is Ari. I am usually a booktuber slash musician. I collect music and everything. I love Star Trek and I love to game. I go by they, them pronouns. And I am just here to tell y'all about how I reignited my love for gaming and things like that during the pandemic. So yeah.
Hi, my name's Kins. I use he, him pronouns. Sorry, this is what happens to me, Jinx. My name's Kins. I use he, him pronouns. I'm here from Seattle with Seattle Gamers, but also I'm here to share my own experiences, not only as a community lead, but as a bipolar individual who is also managing, well, pre-COVID, 102 events a year. And I'm going to be speaking more on terms of in-person events and also how that translated to the sudden loss of that with basically losing all that to COVID.
I could go next. My name is Raylan Shoney. I'm board president and CEO of QWERTY Gamers, a now fully digital platform after COVID-19. And I think our background perfectly ties into this whole conversation. I think a lot of folks used our platform uh, as a way to cope during the pandemic, or as it still goes on in the rest of the world. So, yeah, I hope to add to that. Especially, I do live with anxiety and depression, so we might talk about that today.
Hi, I am Aziza Brown. I am the owner and founder of Dynamic Focus. It is an esports team, majorly focused on the fighting games, and with a content creator division. I also am the investor in the Queen of the Hill series, which is a series for women and binary competitors to be highlighted in the fighting game scene to and also learn and experience that there are people that compete in fighting games and yeah, that's
Welcome, everybody. Oh, what a panel lineup we've got. I hope that you're all as excited as I am about this. I wanted to start off by talking about how gaming has changed for you with the pandemic. I know for myself, my gaming habits shift between playing with other people and playing by myself. That largely stayed unchanged with the pandemic because a lot of the gaming I do with other people is online. How about for all of you?
Yeah, so I like a handful of people. I don't want to say a lot because I don't know how many people actually did this. I actually started streaming video games when the pandemic started. So I took the opportunity to, build a PC and I lonely as heck. I don't know. I was missing people. I was missing getting to meet new people, going to conventions, going to like either anime or gaming conventions, things like that. Which we have so many in Chicago. And that's when I kind of made that jump of like, okay, maybe streaming would be fun. Maybe I can meet new people to play games with. So I actually ended up starting to play games way more during the pandemic, try to reignite that like people aspect or try to meet new people again. Since that was sort of taken away. Fun, met a lot of new people. Like
Yeah.
I could talk a little bit about how gaming changed for me pre-pandemic and then after pandemic.
Hmm.
Um, well, I mean, specifically for me, I played a lot more Dead by Daylight. I think behavior saw a lot of folks playing their game after the pandemic started, so I think that's great for them. I think specifically for me managing the nonprofit that I do, um, I think a lot of folks kind of like Buri, right? Am I saying that correct? A lot of folks like Buri in our community also started streaming, and it was, a lot of folks were starting from scratch, or they were, reigniting their passion, and I think we were there to kind of help facilitate that passion, and we were there. I wouldn't say consultants because we didn't officially have anything like that, but we were there to kind of help and support and encourage them. So it was really fun to see so many people build up their kind of like, things that they didn't have time for before, especially like in Los Angeles. We're here, in our cars 2 hours a day, so that frees up a lot of time. Um, so yeah, it was kind of cool to see people have more leisure time and more things for hobbies, or if that turned into, for some folks, that turned into full-time careers. So it was really cool to see that, and I think especially myself personally, I saw myself um, streaming more. I lost that passion, but I do it now every now and then again, and it was fun. So yeah, I think very similar to what Buri said.
So I may actually be the outlier here in a lot of ways, but I'm sure I'm not the only one who is attending this panel who feels this way. But
Yeah.
I, primarily did in-person events, but also I did mostly in-person gaming. And largely what that means is that, at Monday nights we had board game nights, and that's a community building thing. And then our video game nights were always focused in more like casual encounters. So it was really more about the social aspect in the event rather than the competitiveness of gaming. And obviously, when you lose seeing people physically, everything changes. I do think that's why a lot of people started playing a lot of Animal Crossing because it was a way to hang out. It wasn't for me. I bought it, played it for 2 weeks, and then I was
Oh
like, I
no.
need to dive into some Civ 6 for like, I didn't sleep for like 4 days straight because I like I gotta undo all of Animal Crossing. It's just not me. um, and I think we all found our own like gaming voice that was, I think, a lot of us who are gamers found kind of a shift, almost like we were forced to rediscover aspects of ourselves and see what we did and did not like. And it also gave way to a lot of online platforms. I feel like got developed very quickly in ways that they didn't previously. Like Dominion.games got a lot better, like very fast. The tabletop gaming website got a lot of made some significant improvements in a very short amount of time. And then we saw a game like Among Us, which had been released for over a year, suddenly get traction with like millions of people, right? So I
Mhm.
think that in a lot of ways, people found ways to connect still, and that was kind of a beautiful, beautiful thing to discover. I think it grew the gaming world in a way.
Mhm. I know that the tabletop community has particularly suffered from the pandemic in this way. And I know that I used gaming in my clinical practice too. And the hard part about gaming is that it comes with an inherent like price point. You have to be able to own and operate the equipment to play the game online with somebody versus like a board game you can just show up and play. And so I was also curious with this if anybody got to use new games or technology that they hadn't before. Like I know for myself, Tabletop Simulator was a huge game changer. I mean, the workshop community for that blew up. I don't know if anyone's ever used it. This is not a sponsorship by any means, but just throwing it out there that it's a really creative platform to be able to create interactivity in a way that we didn't get to see.
I definitely
Uh,
wasn't a tabletop ever. I and it's just like I board games, that category of games, it just wasn't for me. But let's say we're talking about like D&D, right? So in high school, I would get invited to watch people, the guys play D&D. And I always want, yeah, I know. I always wanted to play and I would just sort of sit there and watch them. I'm 25 now. The first time I ever played D&D was when COVID happened a few months ago. And yeah, and you know what? It was this is gonna sound I don't know. I'm bad at math, and that's a part of that like scared me. And they let me know they're like, hey, there's apps, and then there's D&D Beyond that will do all the math for you. It'll roll for you. It does everything for. And I was like, this is mind blowing. I didn't know this existed, and it's honestly opened a whole new world for me in gaming because now I was invited to do be a part of those games and stream it and things like that, and I'm finding people of color who are doing D&D. That is the
Yeah.
biggest part at Shift Online is like I've always seen like to not offend anyone, white guys in with beards doing D&D in anime club or whatever it was, and to see Hispanic women, black women, Hispanic men, non-binary people, all of that representation happened online because of COVID. And like hate
Mhm.
COVID, but that's the one thing I'm thankful for is that diversity and that platform now is out there and people like me are able to find new things that speak to us. Nice.
it's
I
wonderful.
I do want to add to that. That's actually a great point. But the other thing that happened too that I think a lot of us more able people didn't realize is that we brought a lot of gaming accessibility to those who could not leave their houses. And yeah, we've always known this existed within the gaming community, actually in a very large fashion. However, in a large way, the larger gaming community was forced to come back into their homes and join everyone else. And all of a sudden, there was a lot more interaction. And yeah, I just think that was a great thing that came out of it too. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Aziza, I saw you had some comments.
Yeah, it's basically the thing is that like, when you talk about like before and after, and I'm gonna take me
Hmm.
back to tabletop too. Um, I'm an esports team, so I travel.
Yeah.
So like when the pandemic happened, we couldn't travel anymore. So the whole marketing scheme for esports dynamically changed,
Oh
especially for
yeah.
like um different like games where like the online scene was actually horrible because the developer had to change everything and make sure that they had rollback netcode because we weren't operating for years. Like literally, it's almost 2 years. You know.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah. So we all changed. Like conventions stopped happening, tournaments stopped happening. Everybody went remote. Everyone had to go and do regional divisions because of the internet.
Hmm.
And
Mhm.
literally, we just like refocused on like actual doing apparel marketing and different types of marketing to actually rebalance ecosystem for esports. So
Hmm.
and to help with that, I was on Dungeons and Dragons a lot.
Yeah.
That's a good mental escape for sure.
Yeah, it was a good mental escape to talk to friends and everything like that, and to
Yeah.
pretend to be a
Yeah.
dragonborn and
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
But I also have to add, there's there like other tabletops that came about, like just now, the Kickstarter for Motherlands
Oh
RPG
my gosh.
w-
Yes.
just ended. Like actually, I don't think they ended yet, but it's going to end soon.
Mhm.
And I was really on that. Yeah,
Absolutely.
New
I
York City's happening outside.
yeah,
As always.
As always. So yeah, but yeah, definitely just having a Afrocentric game now coming out is
yes.
like amazing, like a Afrocentric technological game. Great. So That's
I'm so enamored with the work that Tanya DePass does, and I'm
yeah.
a huge fan of Into the Motherlands. Ari, how has gaming changed for you?
Actually, for me, it was more of a sometimes thing for me because I went from going out to the Schomburg to hang out with friends and, going to performances. I go to concerts. I am a person who is out and about in the community. I volunteer and things like that. So not being able to do that anymore made me sit here and say, okay, what can I do to pass the time?
Mm-hmm.
So, books and video games became my place of solace away from, the outside world and trying to kind of step away from being on Twitter and Facebook and things like that all the time. Like when I was in college before, you could find me in the bowling alley. We had like this bowling alley slash gamers paradise type of deal. And you could find me in there playing Guitar Hero or
Oh yeah.
2K or, like sitting there playing DJ Hero or whatever. And then after college, it was just like one of those things that I kind of let go. And
Mm-hmm.
because I couldn't afford to, go out and just splurge on games and things like that. So my little brother gave me his old PS3 so that I have that there. I don't play online or anything like that, but I do love to sit there and just be very violent on certain games. And then I was just like, well, I want to find a way where I can, socialize with people and everything. Like honestly, when I was in college, my marching band was recorded for an HBCU video game that we got
Cool.
previews of ahead of time. And we got to play those. It was awesome. You used the equipment from like Guitar Hero and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So that was another game that I was able to play and I don't have it anymore. I wish I still did because, of course, my band is on the actual software and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when I moved up to New York a couple years back, I grew up here and everything, moved back. Didn't think that all of this was gonna like go completely haywire and then
Mm-hmm.
I'd be stuck here, So I got here and this happens. And so I say, you know what? I'm gonna buy me and my girlfriend a Switch. I plugged into Spiritfarer. I got that game. I went ahead and got Trivial Pursuit because I do love playing board games as well. And I also started playing Animal Crossing and various other things and getting back into gaming again. And it was just
Mm-hmm.
like, why did I ever let any of this fall by the wayside? Because it's just such an amazing outlet for people.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, for a person like me who does struggle with anxiety, sometimes a lot of outside stimulation does cause that anxiety. So, being here, sitting here, just playing my game and everything, being by myself, kind of in my own world, helps me. Reading my books helps me. The books help with the screen fatigue,
Mm-hmm.
and the games just help me to plug into something that's not so much, me paying attention to the news and things like that that's going on. So it's been an outlet for me, like it has for everybody else. And I've met some people through it. Of course, I'm in New York, so I met a lot of, New York gamers through it. So it's been just quite a thing that has just come back into my life and made it a little bit better. So,
That's amazing. And Wow, I couldn't ask for a better transition. You set me up perfectly there because I wanted to talk about how playing more or less, like what you're just describing, has become something that we use to kind of manage emotionally through this difficult time, and how we need balance. And there's been an influx of gaming and the shift in the way that gaming operates, but how do we cope through being inside, while for a lot of introverts out there this has kind of been a silver lining, where indeed there's social anxiety that kind of gets mitigated when we get to be inside, and everybody's encouraging us to not socialize as much and have a lot of caution and mindfulness around it. But where do all of you find that balance between gaming and kind of other coping things during the pandemic and beyond, now as we're kind of transitioning into a new normal?
I was always kind of an ambivert, like in, out. If I didn't feel like being, like I'm a type of person that will turn off my phone. I like when I was in college one time, I think I fell off the map for about 3 weeks, and my friends honestly were just like, "What's going on? W- We haven't heard from you in so long, and we keep on getting your voicemail." And honestly, that's just me. I didn't have to, you know, relate to people in that way back then. Like now, I can go out to a concert and then come back and be like, do I really feel like being out there today? How am I feeling? Do I want to be around people? And honestly, most of the time that answer is no. I'll stay here and like fire up Netflix or HBO Max or whatever. But um since I'm not fully vaccinated, I will not be going out till I am completely vaccinated. Like I'm going to get my vaccination on Sunday. So
Congratulations.
yeah, thanks. So right now I'm here. I'm good. I am kind of a homebody when I need to be. I can adjust, and that's one of the best things about me is like I if I don't feel like being out, I don't go out. I'm pretty much a person who just does not like to talk to a lot of people. I'm pretty awkward in person, so just, staying this became like, okay, I'm staying home. This is basically what I do anyways, unless there's something really, pressing that I want to do, like go out to a concert or something. If I'm not out at a concert or out at the Schomburg Library at like the Black Comic Con or, doing something like that, I'm here. Like, because I don't like being around people. I don't like talking on the phone. And honestly, Twitter has been my safe haven for a little while, even though sometimes I just go ahead and unplug
Hmm.
and
There's a
fall off the
balance.
face of the earth.
There's definitely a balance there. How about for others? How do you find that balance and maintain mental health through all of this?
Finding
Er,
balance. Oh, go ahead.
Whoop.
maybe we should call out names.
For sure. Brie, how
That
about you
usually
go?
helps. Yeah.
No, finding balance is kind of tough with the transition of trying to more speaking engagements and channels and doing streaming and TTRPG events and things like that. You're kind of like online all the time. 'Cause
Mhm.
for at least for me, because I'm just trying to find those opportunities, right? And I love these type of engagements like that. And it's been really, really hard to find balance because I'm someone who's really, really bad at saying no sometimes. I'm very much a people pleaser and I want to do everything I can. And, I want to elevate voices and help people and, get opportunities to others and things like that. And sometimes the only way to do that is to be, out there and I'm talking to people. And the hard part for me has been able to say no and setting my own boundaries. That's the only way I have found balance is setting a schedule for myself or really lack of Like I had a set schedule with streaming and I completely got rid of it. And I said, no, I will be on when I'm on. Like I work
Good for
a
you.
full-time job. Yeah, it's probably not great for growth, but I work a full-time job in tech and I am exhausted. I'm tired after however many hours of a day sitting at a computer. So I had to remove that schedule for myself. I had to limit my engagements and be a bit more like, you know what? I can't, but at the same time, the like other side of that coin is I'm able to point them in like someone else's direction. I'm still creating opportunities. Like, hey, I can't do that, but you know who would be great for that? This person, and they are great for that. Like, I'm not gonna just throw any random person out there, but setting
Mhm.
boundaries has been really, really tough, but super, super important because, like a lot of other people, I'm tired, I'm burnt out, I'm exhausted. Even though we've been inside for like the last 2 years,
Mhm.
I've never been so tired in my whole life. So
I feel
that's
like it's that
been
cocoon syndrome, just wanting to like, no, just a little. I just need a little more time just to come
oh
back
yeah.
out.
I've been outside and I'm like, it's hot, it's humid, there's people, what is happening?
Side is expensive.
So
Yeah.
outside is also very expensive.
Yes.
I forgot. And I feel like while we were all inside, they all agreed to like raise prices here and there. And I'm just like, I'm gonna catch somebody in the act. I know prices went
Oh no. And Kins, how about you?
Um, thank you, by the way, for the great lead into the outside world. Um, it's interesting. I think that one thing. So as someone who's bipolar and has known for like, I mean, I got my diagnosis when I was 14, been
Mhm.
re-diagnosed multiple times. But one of the interesting things that happens is like your community, your network, they get if you have open communication with them, they tend to know your signs and your tells.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, when you weren't in person with them, they weren't getting those tells. And so I think it was easier for a lot of people living with various mental health conditions to kind of start slipping through the cracks slowly. And I do think that there was a little bit of a learning curve where some of us did start to kind of start to understand people's online tells,
Mhm.
like how often are they on, how chatty are they, are they up at 3 in the morning? Do I start to
Mhm.
notice that? And so weirdly, I think that there is a definite benefit to like this extra safety net that happened. However, as things are starting to open back up, I am curious to see what happens with different individuals in terms of, you know, we I'm a hairstylist and I own my own business. And basically, one of the things I notice right now is that even though businesses slowly start to pick back up, I've also had cancellations like I've never seen in 13 years of doing hair.
Mhm.
And I think the reason behind that is one, a lot of people don't know how to manage a calendar anymore. Like I don't
Mhm.
like we're all
Mhm.
struggling to figure out like how time works. And two, we're also struggling to understand what our priorities really are because we
Mhm.
just spent a whole year reflecting on what we say yes to, right? So
Absolutely.
I guess I didn't really answer the question in terms of what that balance is, but what I'm saying is I think it's important for us to remember that what our understanding of balance is itself will probably be something we'll be reassessing for a while.
Mhm.
Absolutely. It's been a huge, not to be punny, but game changer for everyone to have to really think about what we're doing with our lives. So, Aziza?
Okay. So I'm gonna say since we're opening again, my schedule has been like screaming on the page because like everybody wants to get back as soon as
Mhm.
possible. Um I kind of like we had invitationals and the headache of contract work doing that, sending somebody from America to the Ukraine during the pandemic has been the most stressful thing I've ever seen in my whole life, and I've done that to many people on my team. So like, but now since like we have the land stitches back and all the um these events are happening again, and
Mhm.
getting NDAs and all those other things, and like it's just piling and piling up. It's just been like this esports madness where like everybody's been cooped up indoors dealing with the offline setting, and they're just like, I can't wait for the online, I can't wait for this, and I don't know if we're prepared for it because it's so much at the same time, and conflicts are already happening, and there's Twitter wars happening just because somebody wants to do an event at a certain time, and it's crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And dealing with that, you have players who tournament anxiety is a thing, and they are very, very excited to go off online again because they've told me to my face that like being alone competing in my room has been more stressful because I have no outlet to people whenever I do well or whenever I do bad. I can't talk to people to give me insights or anything like that. I'm just here in this box. Some people have been streaming their tournament runs just so they can have a connection, you know? So, New York. Sorry.
It's
But
okay. Okay.
but but yeah, that's been the deal for us. I don't know when time management it's too early to go and say that how do you manage your time because everything is so
Yeah.
like that right now because everybody's vaccination happened and everybody's starting to rush to venues, booking venues, and then trying to figure out because I have producers and I have editors and all these other people that are really talented. They're like, "Oh, let's go to them because they have no experience and we can charge them less." It's just been madness. And defining ourselves and literally being at a barter table and literally going to my lawyer all the time. It's it's the reason why I play D&D.
You have to have that
You
outlet
have
for
to
That's
have
the
sure.
the
reason I play
escapism.
Assassin's Creed.
I would play fighting games to relax, but that's my job, so it's just like, oh,
More job. Yeah.
my job.
Yeah.
And Ray, how about for you?
I, I'm really glad I got to not have to go first on this question because it made me think a lot more about it.
Uh-huh.
Uh, there, I mean, there's a lot of layers here. So,
Mhm.
pre-pandemic, I think maybe sometimes I went more with the flow, and now after pandemic, um, I'm more particular or more precise about day-to-day decisions.
Mhm.
I think one of the benefits of pre-pandemic times is I was working at a video game company, and it got me out of the bed, and it made me go somewhere. Like I couldn't just sleep in bed if I got tired, or if I got like sleepy or whatever. So like right now, like I have the worst, like kind of what I think um Kins was talking about. I go to bed at 4 a.m. and I wake up at 11:30 a.m., which I hate. And especially because I'm board president and CEO, but I really didn't feel like board president and CEO until this month because our nonprofit blew up. And all these folks are like, "Oh, can you meet?" And I'm like, "Yeah, here's my calendar." And they're like, "Can you meet earlier?" And I'm like, "I guess." When I'm asleep, which is right now, by the way, I would be asleep right now if it wasn't for this. It's 8
Yeah.
a.m.
Oh.
Uh, happy to be here though. So yeah, it's been, as far as calendar goes, I think I've always been very good at managing my calendar. In fact, I think I encourage folks to be good at calendar management. I always send them an invite. I always send them a reminder the day before. So that's just like my CEO side of my brain working. But yeah, I mean, it's hard. Um, it it's been a lot easier to go to Vices and to just kind of go on autopilot at home for me personally. Um, I will, while for example, I think I may have mentioned this earlier. Dead by Daylight for me personally is very addictive. I will play the game when I want my brain to shut off because I've been playing it for almost a year. Um, I time passes by so fast while playing that game. It'll be like, you know what, I don't want to talk. It's kind of like Ari, because I don't like going out. So I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm gonna just do something to pass the time, and boom, play at 10. It's then 4 a.m. I'm like, what happened? I was gonna do all these other things.
Oh no.
So so with anxiety and depression, it's been harder during the pandemic, but I've also been very thankful for the new connections I can now have, because I'm not doing something that I didn't want to do. I'm now, full time. I'm not paid yet still, but I'm still doing something full time that I love. Um, and I couldn't ask for more. And I think something that I had a conversation with somebody who's been a very big advocate of our community lately, and it's the VTuber community, really, who has grown since this pandemic has started. I didn't even know about the VTuber community until last week when they raised $10,000 for us so far. And I'm like, well, let me talk to you and let me see how I can help your community.
Wow,
Um,
congratulations.
Thank you. And they're amazing, and
I'm gonna get
I
an Abby soon too. Sorry.
I hope so too soon. And we were already planning thing. I'm not going to say it right, like everything right now, but we are planning something on VR chat for our nonprofit, and then to have them come by and be like, "Hey, we're going to raise money for you." I'm like, "Oh my god, I have the perfect thing for you all, and maybe next year we'll see." But yeah, just talking to them, and they, one of the folks that I talked to, their story was, and I don't know, I didn't ask if this was pandemic related, but it was really kind of a little bit of what everyone has said here today is being able to be a VTuber had alleviated a lot of anxiety, a lot of can someone correct me on the word here? Because like when it's a long word that I don't use often, I forget it. Is it dysmorphia? Is
Dysphoria.
that the word?
Uh,
Dysphoria.
well, yeah, body
They're both.
dysphoria, like,
Yeah.
are you speaking to like for like presentation or like expression? Yeah, dysphoria.
Yeah, I think it's dysphoria. So folks have come to me and said that being a VTuber had helped with dysphoria, and especially during the pandemic, it was the perfect time. So um, I think there's been a lot of learning and a lot of balance, like you mentioned. I don't know if I'm exactly doing the right balance right now, but I hope to make some changes because I can't continue to wake up at 11:30 a.m. and play Dead by Daylight to shut my brain off. But I'm also happy that I have the freedom to focus on more things in my life now, as opposed, because working from home has been has become a norm for a lot of folks, not everyone, of course. And I hope a lot of folks start encouraging working from home, but also trying to introduce some kind of healthy habits. I don't mean to talk too much or talk about like long-term stuff, but I eventually hope that we can have some kind of meeting place for my nonprofit where we can come in at least once a week, and that can at least encourage like well, I have to get ready, I have to go out and do something, and then that means I'll have to walk, and because by the way, my walking habits have gone down. I that's why I'm standing at the standing desk, is so that I don't sit all day anymore. Um, but that's my answer.
That's a great
To add to the
adjustment.
dysphoria, me being a booktuber and being in front of a camera helped me a lot to, understand what gender euphoria feels like, and as far as me, I do plan on getting, top surgery or whatever. But right now, I do wear a binder, and being able to be in front of a camera and actually see myself and hear my own voice and be able to, go through all of that on my own. And it's actually given me confidence because I have people who come to me and be like, "Hey, that book that you reviewed, it was awesome, and oh my gosh, your videos are getting better and better," and things like that. Like to have that type of community, and also the gamers that I've actually gotten in touch with and everything, and they've actually started to integrate into the bookish community as well. It has been so rewarding and everything. And even though I'm not monetized or anything like that, it's so great to be able to reach out into all of these different, places and bring together communities, which is amazing too.
Oh, you're muted, by the way.
Helps if I unmute. My puppy's laying behind me chewing on a hard toy, and while I encourage the behavior of like calm play right now, it's really annoying. So for what it's worth, I think that cameras and being on camera has been such an adjustment for all of us, and I think those are great things to underpin, especially with like okay, not your clinician, not anybody's clinician here. If I'm your therapist, please don't comment that I'm your therapist in the Twitch chat. But also, like, I'm nobody's therapist here. This isn't clinical advice, but balance is hard for all of us, and it's constantly changing, and it's something we always have to work on. Ray brought up a great example of using a standing desk, and I'm sure all of us have had to make these kinds of adjustments. I mean,
Yeah.
who cares if we wake up at 11:30 and play DBD to go to sleep? If that works for us, but at the same time, that is part of that balance, right? Like we have to be able to say we get our jobs done. There's ways that we're getting fulfilled, like doing these book videos and increasing accessibility and engaging in communities that are new and different to things that we've ever done before. There's so much creativity, like with VTubers and ways of expressing gender and identity on camera, and lots of creative filters and ways to really set an environment. Um, all of what all of you are saying is so exciting to me. So I wanted to talk about considering the identities that everyone here holds and all of the amazing and impressive communities you're part of. Where do you feel like the gaming community needs to grow in order to maintain and sustain some of what we've seen evolving in front of us during this pandemic time and beyond?
I
Go
would
ahead.
love
Yep, I see you.
mostly because like as someone who runs events, right? Like that's like so on my mind right now is that again the whole thing with accessibility, it really changed. And I think that there are definitely people I know who've had like I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with Able Gamers, by the way. Quick shout out. If you're not familiar with them, you should look them up. They do a wonderful job of bringing accessibility to gaming to all sorts of marginalized, you know, differently able people. Um, but anyway, so what I was going to say is that uh, I have a concern, a very real concern, that some of the people who have been unable to participate in our communities in the same way or in the same fashion are going to slip through the cracks. And the other concern I have is that even those who might not necessarily slip through the cracks, those who might have wanted to have some sort of like physical connection, like an in-person connection down the road from people they met online who might not have that at their disposal. I think those are the communities that like some of those who are running events or leading any sort of kind of community building efforts. I hope that anyone listening in on this like keeps that in their mind because it's a large subset of our community that we don't even always keep track of. Um, but yeah, so I guess what I'm saying is just that like I have some very real, and I think that they're everyone's concerns, but also like it's really we did such a good job over the pandemic checking in with people, making sure everyone was okay, connecting with people we normally wouldn't connect with, right? I'm sure everyone here has made like friendships, like deep friendships with people they've like barely interacted with pre-pandemic. And I think that we have a great responsibility to make sure we continue that because giving that to someone and then taking it away is a much greater loss. Um, that's my PSA.
Yeah.
So it sounds like considering hybrid events is going to be really important and paying attention to that
I love that you brought that
balance
up.
going forward.
That's been on my mind a lot. And I know we kind of brought up jobs like, oh, being on camera and whatever. But what people don't understand is when we fight for like work from home, these online events or even hybrid events or whatever, it's not because, like, oh, we don't want to go into the building or we don't want to be at the convention with a bunch of people. For some of us, it is that consideration of those of us with disabilities that it is hard. It is hard. Like conventions are fun, but they are hard. They're
Mhm.
physically physically hard on some people. Some people are not able to go. It is emotionally, mentally hard on people. And just as quickly as we saw companies implement online, strategies, we're seeing them take them away just as quickly.
Yeah.
And you can I don't care. Like the root of it was for them to keep making money. That's why they did all of that, is for everyone to still pay them. So to see them take it away and not have any consideration for those that can't make it anymore is heartbreaking to me. And that is super, super tragic. And like I said, it's not just about going into the office or seeing people or not wanting to be in a room with a thousand other people. It is just, we have to consider those of us that impact is going to be immense too. Like I went to a Cubs game. As being the good partner that I am, I went to a Cubs game. I hate sports. And I had an anxiety attack at the Cubs game. And I literally was like, I didn't want to leave because I would have been rude, but I just kind of sat there in my seat and like cried. And it had nothing, no one did anything or anything. It was just you're suddenly surrounded by so many people and
Mhm.
voices and talk, and it's very overwhelming. For someone like me, I struggle with a variety of things. So fun. And it's just consideration has to be kept and has to be put into these things, and people have to move with intent. And I think a big part of the gaming industry is we need to start making sure that we are, putting our money where our mouth is. So if a convention or company or studio, whatever it is, isn't gonna make that effort, be it in the way they are making games accessible or representation or whatever it is, then I don't want any part of it. You're not going to give me something and then take it away. Or you're not going to put up a face of like, look at all of our wonderful diverse crew members, but then you're not putting them in the room to make those decisions. uh, so that's I can't even remember the question, but for me that's just how the industry needs to change moving forward, with this, going back to our new normal. Not normal anymore. It's something brand
Yeah.
new. I feel
That
very
was the question.
I'm sorry.
So, like, I want to continue on what um I I have the what's your name? I'm not gonna watch your name again. Yeah,
Uri?
Bori.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah, Furi.
yeah, Bori. So I'm gonna say what's happening with people taking it away. So what happened was is that everybody who do online events and do all these things, the price rate for an online event is actually cheaper because we're not dealing with our camera setups and our stuff and our equipment.
Mhm.
So when we do an offline event, it's our stuff. So the price changes. The price increases because there's more labor. And I'm hiring other people to manage like different equipment. So that's not translating to events. So events are not actually prepared for an all-fly broadcast or a hybrid event because hybrid events are more expensive. So it is like one of those things where like you have to educate every single person, every single event, every single thing that hey, we do want hybrid events, but at the same time, I can't give you all this free. There's other people involved that need to be paid to because I'm not because now these people are involved. Before they weren't because they couldn't come to your house. Now they're coming to the event, they have to be paid, they have to be fed, they have to pay their bill. So that's Bordy, that's the answer to your question. And that's what you have to tell people when they're taking stuff away. It's that make sure that the production that you have money in your production to actually do this hybrid event. Um I on the other hand like to keep it going, number one, the pricing, make sure that you can afford the hybrid event. Number two, make the space because the reason why people didn't come to anything like that because number one, the space wasn't there. Like there wasn't a space for women to go and play games, or there wasn't a space for people of the LGBTQIA to go, and there wasn't a place where you're safe. To make the space to be safe for everyone, or for younger people too. Make sure that parents know that you can't leave your child in a space by themselves. Educate everyone on making the space, um, and maintain those spaces, because we can easily do the same thing we did online. It's just that we have to be educated on how to do it, and also make sure that you're doing common sense things to make people comfortable. It's simple, but also not simple at the same time.
It's the saying of common sense isn't so common.
Yeah.
Basically. Everyone's like, yeah,
Basically,
it's so easy, but in real life, right? Like you have to keep it's hard
keep
to
in
keep that reminder.
yeah, it's hard to keep that reminder, and also to telling people that this is how you have to do it, and then he goes, "Well, I was billed a different bill before," and you're like, "Sir,
If
That was
you
then,
knew.
this is now.
sir, ma'am,
I feel like
or
an interesting point too.
you, like, come on, like, just let's
Said.
let's let's wake up and let's do this for everybody, because like taking away just because of price cost is kind of messed up. Even
Yeah.
though because like you can always find somebody in the community that bring up would invest in your event, just so you can have that space for everyone there, and communicate about your spaces. Because the one thing is that I've been in rooms where people didn't know that the fighting game community, or the fighting game esports, was mostly black, and they're always talking about diversity in esports. And they're like, "Wait, there's an esports that's already have a minority factor in it," and we're like, "Yeah, but the fighting game community doesn't talk about itself." So those
Yeah.
spaces that they should have, not communicated, and then these investors don't see us.
I I'd love to talk about that because I actually didn't know that there is a minority majority community out there of
Fighting game
esport.
community, yeah.
Thank you. And so that's what I think more folks should, like you said, more folks should be aware of. What I keep learning is I try and bring on more volunteers at QWERTY. Hopefully we all get paid someday, like I said, but right now volunteer. And like I mentioned, the VTuber community, I'm talking to some folks about perhaps being a consultant, so that we can start representing them in our community and then start pairing up with these corporate sponsors. So actually, I'd love to talk to you offline about perhaps getting involved so we can make sure people are aware of the community. But I think also everyone else out there is like those bridges need to be created, right? And like, who starts
Mhm.
that? I'm sure you and I are both, and everyone here, really busy because like I'm working my ass off for no money. Not that I don't mind because I love doing what I'm doing. But these folks that are getting paid like, 6 digits. Is that I'm bad with numbers. But
Yeah.
those are the folks I wish would step up. Unfortunately, they are profit driven and not people driven. Um, but then there is money there to be had. I think someone in Twitch chat said like there's untapped markets. They don't know it until we are like, hello, we're here. So definitely, I totally agree. This, I think you said a lot. Start talking, and I think that's a great, just a great starting point. Is start talking about these communities to your friends, and um, especially because like I'm starting to grow my network with folks that are that work at Twitch and work at Tiltify and these big companies that didn't know who I was before. So it's good that I think these conversations are being had and we can start. Especially thank you NYC Gamers for this entire event that we can talk about this stuff. So I always go for the cheap applause. Like how do I get everyone to say yay? NYC Gamers, no, but really no. I'm so thankful. Um, this has been great so far. So anyway, I'll stop talking now.
I would actually like to piggyback on both your points, which is, one of the things that we don't talk about enough on a large scale or on a small scale is how much work goes into gathering, into event building, into all of these things. Like a lot of people, a lot of our attendees, a lot of people who are like in our communities actually just like have it, kind of a minimal involvement with the back end of things, right? Like there's a Twitch TV. I can't believe I just said that. There's a Twitch stream happening right now, right? With 5 panelists and moderator on this topic, but like that requires scheduling, that requires like back end work, that requires like all of these different things. It requires time. It requires time that we are all donating right now, by the way, which is totally fine. I'm happy to be here. But people don't realize that they're whether it's a large scale convention or even just a smaller event, there are always so many cogs and gears. I remember basically the weekend before Memorial Day weekend, all of a sudden between Thursday and Monday, I received 34 inquiries from local CL gamers who were like, when are you starting events again? And that was just like, when are you starting, right? Like not an if, not how, not, none of that. And I just had that moment of being like, why are you all asking me all at the same time? And I realized it's because vaccines became available to everyone in Seattle 6 weeks prior. And so vaccine 1 month, 2 weeks from that was exactly that date. And, or at least, people were getting their second vaccine or whatever. And it was interesting because people had gotten used to all of these things happening that they could just go to. People can just buy an Emerald City Comic Con ticket, right? Or a PAX West or PAX East ticket. And there is like copious amounts and hours and time and money and dedication and vision involved in all of these things. And I think that one of the things we need to talk about more casually with peers is the sort of back end things that go into it, because I think for a long time we have kind of been okay with the facade because the magic is part of what makes it exciting. But if we're going to continue moving the gaming community forward and we're going to continue making things available to people, we need to have these conversations and people know that resources cost time, cost money, cost effort, and that we might not even know that there are people who have those to give this to us until they realize there's a need for it.
Absolutely. There's a lot of things that go into events and conventions and a lot of time and effort. And I know, like, would take this, if you've been to a convention space where we've been present before, we have something called the AFK room. It's a space that's intentionally designed to be the most boring place at the con in order to help with those situations where we're feeling overwhelmed. And we realized as soon as we started talking about returning to the convention space and these live events, we're going to want to be there. But that takes immense amounts of organization and effort to get the room put together, all of the things that are happening in that room. So with all of the organizations that you see, all of the groups and companies, know that whenever you go to a live event or even an online event, there's a lot of paid and unpaid work, a lot of unpaid work that's happening, and a lot of people who are giving their time in order to make something really special. What you're saying, it's undervalued, but also something that all of us really enjoy and is probably going to be incredibly healing as we get back into these spaces. These events are going to be very healing, and I think that's why people are also chomping at the bit of like, let's go. Where are these events? What's happening? When are we going to be able to go to stuff? Because there's a mix of reactions, but a lot of people are interested in kind of getting a flavor of what we used to know as life.
Yeah.
We have one question from chat that I wanted to address before we wrap up, but they were wondering, what's something that you would like game developers to consider when making games that have a positive impact on your mental health and system? Yeah.
Oh, I actually have one that like it came up really. I'm heavily connected, as we all are in this chat, actually, with the TGNC communities, and like one of the things that comes up a lot is there really is still a lack of like on the back end, even if we have like all these great like front facing like blurring of the binary avatar, you know, you know, uh, choices and options on the back end, sometimes how they operate is still very binary. And I think that's one of the
Mhm.
things that really needs to be kind of addressed, because even like Facebook, right, has all of these relationship options, and all of a sudden you can, have all these different ways to connect with people. But on the back end, it's still very binary. It's male, female, and like how those profiles interact with each other. And that's a world that like I think in a lot of ways, until we get more people always keeping an eye on those things that are actually in leadership and development, it's going to take a long time to change. But I do think that's something that game developers really need to focus on. Is like I recognize it's a lot of work to undo the structure they've built, but there's always a way, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
supporting our TGNC community, I think, is a really, really big one.
Um, I like what should definitely happen is like on the consumer backend, support your indie developers and learn about your indie developers, because these people are coming out making the games that you really want to see, and they're not getting the financial support because they're not being known. But the thing is that if everybody cries for diversity and inclusion, and these people are making the stuff for diversity and inclusion, and if you elevate them, then the AAA developers will know, oh, there's a market for this, oh, maybe we should hire them. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many developers that I know that's like, this game that you love so much, imagine if you gave me money. I did this all on my own with no financial backing. So one of the biggest things is support the people that do the work, which is the indies, and also tell the AAAs and put them to task. Like, just right now, The Sims literally has more color diversity in The Sims just a few years ago,
Mhm.
because the black community literally said, "Hey, you're not representing us in a simulation game about people." You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
This
what?
I feel like it'd be pretty obvious. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
should be very obvious, but it's not. I think NBA 2K, I think the 2K series, they finally have this app where you can actually scan your face and it represents your body on in NLB. So now you can actually be representative. Just you being represented, that just came out I don't even think it's out yet. I think it's just in the mix. Like,
Yeah.
these things are now, since we've been indoors, developers are now understanding, like, hey, this is media, and media means voices of everyone. Like, the games are not just for one set people. It's like saying that, like, books are for dads and TV's for moms. Like, it's like, no, it's a media, it's everything. You need cultural diversity. You need all
Yeah.
types of diversity inside these games, because it's media. Come on.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I want to add both of your points is that this is why it's so, so, so important that for people that are watching, for the panelists and the moderators and um sharing the work you are doing, sharing it, retweeting them, posting them, whatever. And then on the other end of it, which is just as important, I said it before, put your money where your mouth is. Uh gosh. You
There
need
she
to
is.
be so cute. You need to be supporting, your friends. You need to be supporting others. Um, because what you just saying, I support diversity and inclusion. Okay, great. Like, do you want a badge?
Mhm.
You want a cookie? What do you want? No, I want you to do the work. I want you to support those. Like, it's just so, so, so important, especially for the queer community. Pay
Yeah.
your friends for the work they are doing.
Yeah.
Promote the work they are doing. If you're not talking about it, I promise you it's just not going to happen. We need to be our best advocates since day one. Forever and always, we need to be our best advocates because if we're not going to do it, who the hell is going to do it? We left it to them for how long? And
Yeah.
what have we gotten out of that?
Yeah.
So yeah. Um, and to answer the question, I need in Hades, I think it's called God mode, and it like makes the games like a little easier. I need that in every game because
Yeah.
listen, for my like, I don't need a game to be like super hard. Sometimes I just want to get to play the game. I want to
Yeah.
proceed. I want the story.
Enjoy.
Yeah, I want to enjoy it. I don't want to be stuck for 12
Yeah.
hours on the same thing, just grind. Like that's not fun to me. That is not. It makes me feel like I disappointed like someone out there. I don't know, but like I need developers to add that, and it's not like oh get good. You're a baby gamer. It's like I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Like I paid $60 for this game. I didn't pay $60 for it to bully me. Like I just wanted to get through the game, please.
I
Um,
love that.
so that's
Yeah.
like what I need all developers to do because I'm tired. I don't need it. So
And also to piggyback onto, put your money where your mouth is, of course, put your time out there too. Because some of us don't always have money to, invest in these things, but also putting your time in and spreading that awareness is also important. That's why I do a lot of volunteer work. I volunteered for the Afro Latino Festival. I volunteered for the Liberation movie festival. I volunteer at the Schomburg when I can. I go to like Wikipedia. They have these Wikipedia get-togethers where we get together and we find a topic that's not added to Wikipedia, and we get together and put our minds together and add things to Wikipedia and things like that. Like putting your time and effort out there is also important because even though some of us don't have the money to, always invest in there, it's always good to raise awareness, putting that information out there. Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, whatever, type of platform that you're using, go out there, promote your friends. I have a YouTube channel. I promote my friends on my YouTube channel. I retweet Twitter. All of this stuff. It is all there. It's a resource at your fingertips. And honestly, it's been so rewarding. I have met some of my great friends out here just in the community. I'll go to Queens and somebody will be like, oh, I remember you. You were in Harlem like 2 weeks ago at the Schomburg, at ShomCon. We get Black Comic Cons here. Like people are literally starting up um black based Comic Cons for, more accessibility to Latinx and Black people and things like that. Reaching out to this. Like a lot of that
You-
stuff got stopped for because of the pandemic.
I
Like
just need to
people
ask.
are yeah.
Have you done game devs with color?
No, I have not. I have been like literally trying to, kind of plant myself in specific spaces. And
Okay.
honestly, that's what I've been doing. You
DM
know,
maybe if you want to volunteer for that because I do that. So like
yeah.
yeah.
We will definitely get in touch because I do everything. I'm all over the place. I went to like a park one day and somebody was like, I remember you from so and so. Are you going to be doing this? And yeah, it's so rewarding to be able to actually be out here in the community and understanding what people need and what people want to see. So that is also very important.
Absolutely. And Ray?
Yeah, I think, I mean, piggybacking off of everything y'all said, I think so. I've been asked a few questions before because I worked in the game I mean, I still technically work in the video game industry in the nonprofit sector, but I used to work as a community manager and stuff. And I had the question before, how do we get video game developers to include more Afrocentric things, features, stories? And I think it's kind of what you all said is like we just need to ask the developer, we need to pressure them. And I think a lot of video games are coming around on that, which I mean, what is it, 2021? Okay. I mean, I guess it's, better now than never. But like Warcraft, World Warcraft, I know that they finally introduced like realistic darker tones for skin color. And I don't think it's being talked about, but they're finally in Dead by Daylight. Claudette's finally getting real texturized hair instead of the blob that she had before. So, like, there's things there are things that are happening now that we're not even noticing because it's becoming the norm, which is a good thing. But of course, we need to, folks still need to do better. And I think for the queer community, sorry, got a phone call. I'm hanging up. For the queer community, they are now consulting with queer nonprofits. I mean, GamerX is now consulting with Behavior. Again, I'm talking a lot about Dead by Daylight because that's all I do lately. So it's a matter of just talking and having these discussions. And when you do these things, our communities are going to respond with "Thank you so much. How can we support you?" And then that's why you see, for example, Behavior with the Unified for Pride fundraiser on Twitch, and they just raised $10,000 in like one day. So it's things are happening, and I'm happy with what I'm seeing from my perspective. I think again things can be better. And then I just wanted to say I was so happy that there's a feature in Mario Kart. Is it 8, the newest one, where you can turn this feature on where it will just drive automatically for you, kind of, so you don't have to like go out of lanes, which was great for my mom. She passed in last year, but she had cerebral palsy, and it made it incredibly hard for her to play video games. She was older, right? So it wasn't like for her specifically, she didn't grow up with video games. It wasn't her thing, but she liked Animal Crossing. And it was like the most magical thing that I found out that Mario Kart had this feature that let her drive. And so I think I still have the picture, but like on one of her birthdays, I sat her down with her at a restaurant with the Switch in front of her and we played Mario Kart together. And I was like, whoa. So I agree that I think accessibility, I mean, so for me, that's why like growing up in like a more diverse neighborhood and then growing up with a mom who had cerebral palsy, I'm a little more probably sensitive about these things as to most folks who might look like me. So yeah, these things are really important, and I'm hoping video games become more inclusive. Um, Camera wants to turn off, and start adding features for folks so they could actually play the games. Even Dead by Daylight, the little AD to like not to get out of the killer's arms.
Yep.
That's hard for folks who are not able-bodied. So they're making progress. Also,
Yes.
Behavior, get rid of blackface, please. That'd be great. Thanks. All right.
On that note, if you're going,
Yeah.
my one small preach that I always say whenever I get this question: consult with people if you're going to represent their story, and consult with accessibility experts and people who actually need the accessibility you're trying to aim at, because that's where you're going to get the information you need, not from your own head and understanding of stereotypes. So I want to take a really quick 10 to 20 seconds for everybody and go around and tell us where everyone can find you and your amazing works and the things that you're doing. So go ahead and toss us your handles, give us your information. You can find me at Dr. Hayes Saidi on Twitter. You can find me on Twitch in lots of places, but check out Queer Esports and check out Take This Org. So go ahead and hand it around. Let's start with Buri.
Hey, first let me say sorry if you hear a lot of noise. It's a summer day in Chicago, so the fan is on. Hi, it was really a wonderful panel, and I love sharing experiences and knowledge. And you saw real life connections happen right in front of your eyes. I love that. But my name is Buri Bop. You can find me on Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. I stay on Twitter all day, every night. You're gonna see me at 3 a.m. on Twitter. And it's all Booty Bop. So BOORIBAP. I'm a variety streamer. I do channels talking about mental health, work-life balance in the gaming industry. I am a member of Women in Game. I'm actually a Women in Games ambassador, and you're gonna see me around a lot for Latinx in gaming because that is my home, and they started me in the gaming industry. But yeah, I'm going to pass it along.
Um, my name is Ari. I have a YouTube channel, Boricua Reads, BORIQUEER Reads. It's literally a booktube channel, and I have a blog which is the same. I also am on Twitter, which is the same. Everything's pretty much the same. Instagram, I do Bookstagram. And I am the magical NB on my regular Instagram. That is just my regular handle. I am also working on some slow reads and things like that. I am co-hosting a Broken Earth trilogy read right now, and planning some other things coming up. I am on a book tour for Muse Squad, so that will be coming soon. And it's just a lot of stuff that's just coming down the pipe, and I feel a little bit overwhelmed, but it'll be cool. But yeah, everything is Boricua Reads. Check me out on YouTube and on Twitter.
Aziza, go ahead and go next.
Okay, so you can find me on Twitter at ZIZI down. And you can I'm now streaming again, so that's on Naughty Nimbus Z, on Twitch, and basically the team itself is Dynamic Focus, Dynamic with a K, on every single platform. So like Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, um on Twitch, on YouTube, everywhere. It's Dynamic Focus. We have a TikTok. I have to start working on that more. Anyway, but yeah, that's what we're doing. And also I invest in the Queen of the Hill series, and that Twitter is the Koths. That's TheQuoths. And that's the women's and non-binary tournament series where we highlight everyone that goes through the tournament, and we start to and also didn't say anything before, but we also got sponsored by Urban Decay. Like, we're probably one of the first esports tournaments that actually was sponsored by a cosmetic company, but I
Right.
don't have the facts, so I'm not gonna like go and say yeah we are. No, but we did it.
Ray?
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm gonna see if this works. I have this handy dandy. Oh, it's backwards. Is it backwards?
Oh, it's great
It's
for us.
good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can actually find us in today's convention. We have our own little channel. You can come on over, learn more about us. We're at QWERTY Gamers on pretty much everything. We're QWERTYGamers.org or .com, because I wanted to make sure we got that. But yeah, we are a 501c3, and I will plug one thing we're doing. Our Victoria Kennedy microgrant, which was made in my mom's honor, who I mentioned earlier, who passed last year. That microgrant will be opening up again July 1st. Applications can start being accepted until is there a 31st in July, or is it 30th? I don't remember. 31st. And yeah, we are looking to uplift content creators and game developers. So we'll put out an example application soon on what like an ideal application looks like. And we're also announcing a new recipient July 1st, and they will be streaming directly to our Twitch themselves because, spoiler alert, they are a streamer. But I can't say much more than that. But yeah, I hope to see y'all in the convention and in the internet.
All right, and last but certainly not least,
Thank you, everyone. Honestly, it's been an honor like sharing space with you and making these connections. I I'm so moved, especially for it being as it relates it is in the West Coast, which Ray can attest to. The one thing I want to say also is like if you've seen us doing this, it's clapping in ASL in American Sign Language for those who don't know. So if you saw us doing a lot, I can just happen. My name is Kins. I use he him pronouns again, and I am everywhere as at this little gecko. That's ThisLilGeCko. Seattle Gamers is also all over the interwebs as Seattle Gamers with a Y. I will tell you right now that my personal is probably going to be more active than our community because ours is more focused on like just directly announcing events. But I look forward to seeing you all in person and online in various outlets, and to also be paneling later again today.
Well, thank you to our panelists so much for your early morning wisdom and experiences. Thank you to our production team, especially for letting us go just a little over. And I hope you all enjoyed today. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for more excellent content.